Kohanim. One reason we said was because if the Kohen wears shoes, it could be his shoes are dirty, and he goes up on the platform, and it's not respectful that the people should see his dirty shoes when he does the birkat. Do we see his dirty shoes? And the other reason we said is because maybe if he wears shoes, and the shoes generally had shoelaces, maybe those shoelaces will become untied, and as a result of becoming untied, he might go ahead and go down to fix the shoes and not go and be busy fixing the shoes and tying the shoes and miss out in doing the Birkat Kohanim. And therefore, if you miss out doing Birkat Kohanim, people will start making rumors about him that maybe he's not really a kosher Kohen, maybe his mother was a divorcee, and maybe he was born from a marriage that was not a permitted marriage, a Kohen cannot marry a divorcee, and he didn't unfit to do Birkat Kohanim. And therefore, there were rabbis were very concerned that nobody should be perceived, should not make rumors about a Kohen. And therefore, they said, don't go up with your sandals, with your shoes. Take off your shoes beforehand. Now, what we're up to now is 31b, B2. On the top right side of the page. V'idach, the eighth one, we're up to number 8. V'idach Titania. We learned in the Braita. You have it, Asaf? 31b, morning. 31b2 in the right column, second line from the top. V'idach Titania. Ger sheneskayer bizman hazeh. Somebody who would convert to Judaism during our days, what would be the responsibility? Meaning our days, meaning when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, when a ger would convert, there was a certain responsibility to do. What was the responsibility to do? To set aside money for a korban, for an offering. Because when the Jewish people in a certain sense, when we entered the Brit, when we entered the covenant with Hashem, the acceptance of the Torah, so what happened at Hashana is we had a circumcision. That was one of the things that we had to have, a circumcision. We had mikveh. We went to the mikveh. We had to go to the tip of the mikveh. And another thing, we had a korban. There was a bringing of a korban, of an offering, and also there was a sprinkling of the blood on the person as well. And the law is that a ger, a convert, would also have to do the same thing. The convert gets a circumcision, he goes to the mikveh, but there's no korban, there's no offering to bring. There's no offering because there's no Beit HaMikdash. So what happened? So they would set aside money for, let's say, a korban. The minimum offerings would be, let's say, 2 birds they would be able to bring, and they would set aside the amount of money that would cost, which is a quarter of a shekel, which is a half a dinar, and they would set aside that money, and that would be waiting for the Beit HaMikdash. They're waiting for the Beit HaMikdash to be rebuilt, and then they'll take the money and they'll use it to go ahead and buy those korbanot. So they already would prepare the money. So that's what happened. The ger sheneskayer bizman hazeh, a ger that converted in the time when the Beit HaMikdash wasn't around, sarich sheyafrish rova. They required him originally. There's no Beit HaMikdash. So you bring a korban. You want to convert to Judaism. Separate quarter of a shekel for a kino for your birds. You could buy 2 birds that will be brought as a korban olah, as a burnt offering. And so you're ready to roll when the Beit HaMikdash is around. There's a question: does a convert? Do we also have to put some of the blood on the convert or not? That's the question. But for sure, he has to bring a korban. That's what when Mashiach will come. If there's any converts in the future, then those converts will also have to bring a korban. Part of the process of becoming a convert is that the same way he has to go to the mikveh, he has to go get a circumcision, he also has to go ahead and bring an offering. Because the Gemara has a pasuk in Kritut, the Gemara brings a pasuk that says, Kachem kageh yelefnei Hashem. That Kachem, the way you acted when you became at Har Sinai, when you got the Torah, the process that you went through, every convert has to go through the similar process. So now they separated the money for the korban, and what happened? And Amar Rav Shimon, and what happened? What happened was Amar Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Kfor Nimno Alea Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and his court had a vote regarding this matter, and they decided no more to do that. When someone converts in our times, they do not separate money for the offering. Why? Because if you separate money for the offering, what could happen to the money? You're waiting, you're holding that money for years later, and maybe you might come by mistake to use the money. Person passes away, the children see the money, they don't know what that money is. And they might go use it to buy a drink, right? But really that money is holy because it was separated for use for an offering. So therefore, in order that people, because out of concern that people should not have a stumbling block, they might go ahead and use it for not appropriate use, not for the purpose of a korban. So therefore, they ubitla. They said it's better to not. They said they nullified this. They said you do not separate the money for the korban, because of a stumbling block, because you might come to use the money that was designated for a korban. Because if you separate money, right? Simon separates money to bring a korban, right? So let's say the whole Beit HaMikdash should be rebuilt soon, but we don't tell anybody to separate money today for an offering to be brought when the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt. There were holy rabbis that would prepare themselves a suitcase. In Europe, maybe the Chafetz Chaim's yard site, I think, is Thursday night, tomorrow night. And he would had a suitcase in his house. What was the suitcase? He was ready. Mashiach will come. He's ready to roll. He has a suitcase. He doesn't have time. Morning, Mr. Amos. People like Mr. Amos, holy people, must probably have a suitcase waiting for Mashiach in his closet. But not to separate money for an offering. There's a Gemara that says there's one opinion that one of the rabbis made a mistake, and he did something by mistake on Shabbat, that he moved the lamp. And as a result of that, he violated. But when you move a lamp, an oil lamp, the oil moves, and it affects the light. If either maybe it brought the light closer to the lamp, and he violated the prohibition of lighting something on Shabbat. And he wrote down. I think the Gemara says over there. He wrote down on his ledger that I will bring an offering when the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt. I owe an offering. Okay, you can write that down. But to actually separate money, for that, now you will not separate money for an offering, because maybe something bad could happen. The idach, and what there was another number 9. There was a takana enactment number 9. What was number 9? So that number 9 is a plukta. Is an argument or a papa of Nachman Yitzchak. Meaning to say, everybody holds that these 8 things that we mentioned, Kohanim not going up with the sandals, we spoke about the shofar on taking the lulav for 7 days. Everybody needs to take a lulav today for 7 days, even though when the Beit HaMikdash was around, was only by the temple, by the Beit HaMikdash was it for 7 days. But now there's an act that we all take for 7 days to remember Zeichel and Mikdash, to remember when the Beit HaMikdash was around, they took the lulav in the Mikdash every day. So we take it also every day. The first day we take it because the Torah obligated us to take the lulav. Everybody has to take a lulav the first day, wherever you are in the world. But day 2 to day 7, we said it's remember the Beit HaMikdash. That's another one of his enactments, right? That's what we said. But number 9 is a question: what was number 9? It wasn't universally clear to the rabbis. We know there were 9 things he enacted, but number 9 is a question: which was number 9 that he enacted? So that the Gemara says plukta is an argument to Rav Nachman by Papa Rav Nachman Yitzchak. Papa Amar. Papa says Kerem Revai. It had to do with the vineyard on the 4th year of its produce, and we're going to explain that in a minute. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Lashon Shel Zehuris. It has to do with the red strap that they had regarding Yom Kippur. They had a red strap that they would tie in a certain place. And what would happen is miraculously, that red strap, which red represents Avera, right? Morning, Sammy, right? The color red. The red represents, if it's like, I presume the reason why it represents sin, red is like blood, it's like murder, and that red is a sign of sin. And there was a special miracle that happened in Beit HaMikdash that thread, or the tongue of red wool that's piece that they hung would turn miraculously white as a result of the Jewish people repenting. And that was a great miracle. But then there were time periods that it stopped turning white because the Jewish people weren't doing everything they were supposed to be doing. So as the second temple, during the second temple period, things, people went down in levels. The people would buy the kuna. They would buy the kuna of Kohen Gadol instead of being the right one who earned the right one because you're fit, you're worthy. They would buy it, and the nation went down, and then it stopped turning white in the morning, and therefore they moved it from certain areas to other areas because of the embarrassment to the people or the sadness of the people. We'll see more about, because of the sadness of the people, we'll see more about what was the issue regarding that string. But regarding Kerem Avai, we'll learn more about it tomorrow, is that when you plant a vineyard, the first 3 years, the fruit is called orla. You're not allowed to eat the fruits the first 3 years. But the fourth year, you have to take the fruit to Jerusalem. The fourth year of the fruit of your vineyard, you take to Jerusalem and you eat it in Jerusalem. There's a question, is that true? Is that only for the fruits of a vineyard, or it's true for all fruits that grew in the fourth year? That means it's permitted for you to eat it, just like, but you're limited in where you're allowed to eat it. The only place you're allowed to eat it is in Jerusalem. So we'll see more about that tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו תהדרו דוד